Well, hello and welcome to our front yard garden. This is in the South Carolina upstate. We're in Greer, South Carolina, about halfway between Greenville and Spartanburg, and we are about 30 miles south of the Blue Ridge Mountains, so we're technically in the Piedmont. Very nice weather here. Today is Friday, October 3rd, our first episode of October. It could not be a clearer sky. Absolutely beautiful. It's 57 degrees, but it feels warmer in the sun. It feels like it's about 67, and we're supposed to be up in the 70s today. So a beautiful day to look at our garden and see what's going on as we're now well into early fall and still have some summer flowers out, but they are certainly starting to fade as we start here with the zinnias. Still a lot of color, a lot of flowers coming out, but far fewer than we had in the summertime. We have a lot of videos on YouTube all through the year. We've been doing these every week, and actually this is episode 31. I forgot to mention that. And if you look back at some of the older ones, you can see where there were just tons and tons of flowers. Now, some of them are still absolutely brilliant. These bright red ones right here are just gorgeous, and some others that are just coming out, but not as many as we had before, and not as many varieties of color either. I'm not sure why that is, but we have still have pinks, oranges, and reds. I'm not seeing any white. I'm seeing very few yellow, one or two. So for some reason the variety seems to be dropping off, but the plants themselves are a good 5 feet in height here on average, and they were put in by seed back in the spring, doing very, very well. They're very low maintenance. I have deadheaded them so they didn't look quite so bad. The only problem with them is they get so long and spindly, and then the lower leaves look kind of dead. They look kind of like corn stalks this time of year, but they'll continue to bloom probably for another month, and then whenever we get the first frost, they'll be pretty much finished up. Now, they don't die off immediately with the frost, but the flowers pretty much stop at that point. Got a real nice pink here, along with the oranges and so forth. Not much else going on in this bed. We've had morning glories, we've had clematis, we've had Asiatic lilies here, but even some phlox kind of hidden back amongst everything else, but not much else going on at this point. As we come up to the house, we have a little triangle bed here. This is not a good time of year for our little triangle bed. It's kind of choked with grass, but it does have some phlox, creeping phlox, which will come out in the spring, and a few little daylilies, Stella de Oro daylilies. They didn't do much this year for some reason, but really the big thing in this year bed is our petite knockout rose. I deadheaded this a few weeks ago, and it's taken a little time, but it's really covered with roses again now, and it's looking really healthy. These don't do especially well in the direct sun when we're baking in July, and this was a particularly hot summer with temperatures of about 100 degrees. So a lot of things kind of wilted and are coming back in the fall now. One of those is this little guy right here. It's a vinca. Strange thing about these vinca, we put these in probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. We had a bunch of them, and then they came back the next couple of years just with the seeds, and came back on their own. This year we only had a handful, 1 or 2 here in the front, 1 or 2 in the back, and that's about it, unfortunately. So I'm not sure what's up there. I don't know if they're just done or maybe they decided to skip a year, but we'll find out next year. This one will have a white flower on it when it blooms. You can just see the bud there. Very, very pretty flowers. They do very well for a low ground level plant. We used to have impatiens a lot up in Ohio, but our impatiens have not done so well here in South Carolina, so vinca have really kind of taken their place. They don't have as many different colors, but they're really prolific and are absolutely beautiful. So we have some more zinnias up here by the house. Again, a little bit limited in colors in this area. It's mostly pink and red, but they're still doing pretty well. Not as tall overall. Again, I don't know why. We put these in from the same group of seeds, so I can't explain why these on average are only about 3 to 4 feet tall, while the others out by the mailbox bed there are about a foot taller overall. But these are still doing well, and will continue to bloom for a while yet. And then behind those we have our black-eyed Susans. These have just spread naturally from seed, coming from the backyard. We never planted any up here, but it's nice that they have come up, because they give us a little bit more color in this bed in the front of the house, while everything else is pretty much done. About the only other thing that's blooming right now is Russian sage. It's kind of hidden back in here. These delicate little purple flowers are really nice. We've got some more kind of hidden back in here. This one is another that sort of suffers from being just a little too long for its own good, and has a tendency to kind of fall down amongst the other flowers and be missed. But it's certainly not an impact flower, but if you're looking closely, it's a nice little addition to the garden. We have our climbing rose back here. This normally puts out a lot of flowers through the year. It's lost all of its leaves due to black spot, but I'm looking forward to another good year next year. We have other climbing roses over here. I've cut them back a little bit. They also struggle with black spot, and they don't put out tons of flowers, but yeah, they're still kind of interesting to watch. We have a big dahlia or two here in the front as well, but they're from what I can see, they're almost done for the year. I do see a couple of buds, so we may get a little bit more of that before the end of the year. Last year we didn't get our first frost here in the upstate until December 1st, which was amazing. I think that was about almost a record. But then the year before that, it was mid-October, so you just never know. Certainly later than in the north, which is good, but the growing season is really variable. Last year, our growing season really was about 10 months, honestly. Maybe 9.5, but I'll take that anytime. So we got hydrangeas here, pretty much done for the year. There's a little bit of color on these flower pods, but a lot of them are turning to brown for the winter. I cut them back a little bit. They had a lot of dead branches on them, but they have been in here now for about 5 or 6 years. They're starting to struggle a little bit as this Japanese maple has taken over. It's gotten bigger and bigger, and they're not in the direct sun at all. They don't like necessarily absolute direct sun, but they like some sun, and they're really not even getting that now. So I'm not sure what these are going to do down the road. I don't think they're going to continue to grow, but as long as they continue to put out flowers, I'm pretty happy with that. And kind of the same thing over here. This is a shady part of the yard, and gets more so every year. But these hydrangeas over here have done a little bit better overall. We have kind of a combination of pink and blue, and then behind those are viburnum, which will put out big white flowers that look like snowballs in the spring. We have gardenia here. It didn't do much this year. It's a nice little shrub, but it only put out a handful of white flowers in the late summer. Not a terribly impressive year, unfortunately. And then over here is what I call the citrus grove. We have an orange tree here. I've cut this back a little bit, and it seems to be putting out some new growth up here, some new leaves. But it doesn't really do anything in terms of flowers, unfortunately. Same thing with our lemon over here. This one really struggled this summer. It looks sort of odd, but it is putting out some new leaves, so hopefully it'll kind of start over again and regrow, maybe with some flowers this time. But these small ones, these Meyer lemons, have done much better. One in particular here, I like to show these off, it actually has a couple of lemons on it. And these are growing very slowly. This one is about 4 inches long, the other one about 3 inches. They take about 6 to 9 months to ripen, so there's no hurry there, and I'm just going to take them into the house when the weather turns cold in a few weeks, and give them a chance to finish up. Don't know when the lemons will come, but it'll be interesting to watch. Over here, this is primarily a spring bed. Again, we have some viburnum back here. We have azaleas and a couple more hydrangeas. We do have, with this azalea, a little bit of blooming, the second bloom of the year. Kind of hard to see with the angle of the sun, but some nice little pink blooms here. There we go. And sometimes these will bloom quite a bit in the fall. Sometimes they don't. I think we haven't really gotten our full blooming yet. Got some sort of almost coral color on this one, but I think they're going to put out a few more flowers as we move forward into the later fall. Now in this azalea up here by the street, got some really beautiful light pink flowers, and there are more buds on this one, so I think we're going to get a lot more color out of this before the end of the year, so that'll be fun to watch. I got our 5 big knockout roses here, bright red in color. I deadheaded them about a month ago. I'm not really seeing any new growth out of them. There were a few flowers that came out, but I'm hoping for better things next year. I really should have deadheaded them much sooner than I did. I waited until September, and next year I'll try to be on top of that a little bit better so that they have a little more of a chance to grow. But that's about it for that bed. Even our butterfly bush is finished now for the year, and I'll probably chop this back a little bit. I did that this spring back in February. This thing was about 3 or 4 times this size. Kind of hard to see, the leaves are so thin, but it put out a lot more flowers this year than it had been, so I'm going to continue to do that next year as well. Over here, this bed just about finished for the year. We've had a little bit of salvia that's been blooming, giving us its second wind for the year, but it's just about done now. It'll bloom much stronger and much longer in the spring, so we'll look forward to that in about 6 months. Got a dahlia here. This appears to be completely finished now. I'm not seeing anything new on this. And then a couple zinnias, some Asiatic lilies, climbing roses, just a lot of stuff, but all mostly finished for the year. One thing that's still blooming, and it's more of a late summer flower anyway. I don't know what the name of it is. I think it's basically just a weed, but it puts out these really pretty little blue flowers. I don't know what it is. As I say, I think it's primarily a weed. I don't think it's anything that we planted. And it kind of grows all over. And at this time of the year, that's about, besides the zinnias at least, that's about the only thing that's giving us color. We had one of our knockout roses here gave us a whole bunch of coral colored flowers about 2 weeks ago, but they came and went very quickly. We have a few remnants on this one. We have 3 knockouts right next to each other, coral, red, and pink. And this is one I never did get around to deadheading this one the way I should have. This is probably would do well with a good cutting back and starting over again, because they've gotten kind of big for their britches, and they've kind of crowded out some of our other flowers over in here. We have actually a fourth knockout that has kind of turned over on its side, strangely enough. Back in here, you can kind of see there, and it unfortunately crowded out a lot of our Asiatic lilies, but they still bloomed pretty nicely. Over in here, glads all done for the year. We planted these back in February, and they didn't put out a lot of flowers, but it was definitely a nice little addition. Got more of these little blue flowers here. This vine that just sort of creeps all over the place in this bed is at least giving us a little bit of color to justify its existence. And we have one little variation of a morning glory that is blooming here as well. I'm seeing a handful of its flowers. This is one that just sort of came up randomly. It's not one that we planted here. I don't know if it would qualify as a weed, but it is. It has come up on its own the last couple of years, so it's kind of interesting. And again, that's about it. So front yard is mostly zinnias at this point, and a few other things, but we're going to head over to the backyard next and see what's going on back there. So hope it's sunny wherever you are, and until next time, happy gardening.